Good morning, everyone. How are you guys? We are super excited to have every last one of you guys sitting your butts in these seats this morning here at BroadwayCon, but specifically here at the Rolling Stones panel. Yes, freaking excitement. Super exciting. I am your moderator today. My name is Charlie Cooper. I am a host and a producer at Rolling Stone magazine, but I also have a close relationship and also work at Broadway.com, so you may or may not have seen me there as well. Really excited to be here today, specifically talking to the ladies of Six. We have a long-standing relationship, and most importantly, I'm excited for you guys to be a part of the conversation. We're gonna spend the first half of me chatting with them, asking them questions, but I hope that during this time, you take the time to think of some questions of your own, because the second half will be questions from the fans. So are you guys ready for this? All right. So I'm gonna take a seat and introduce the ladies. First up is Andrea Macasek, who plays in Next up, we have Kimmy Hayes, on stage, ladies in waiting, on the guitar. Michelle Osborne is next, another lady in waiting, on the bass. And last but certainly not least, Mariana Ramirez, a lady in waiting, on the percussion. Good morning, ladies. I love to see your lovely faces. I feel like the energy is already high because we have queens in the building. So how could it not be high, right? Super.
Good morning, everybody. Hello.
So of course, today we're talking about the live album. Super exciting. It's a huge moment for you guys. I mean, it did incredibly well on streaming platforms, surpassing 6 million streams. And I imagine some of these people are responsible for that. So I want you guys to kind of take us back to opening night. When you knew that you would be recording this album live, I imagine there's so much pressure with that. But also, I imagine the audience just plays such a major role in just all of this. You can hear it in the soundtrack, but also on the daily basis, I imagine that the audience plays this role when you guys are on stage. What were your feelings that day, if you can remember? And talk a little bit about what the audience was like.
So I remember that day specifically because if you remember pre-pandemic, we actually closed on our opening night. And so we was geared up for the day, and then it didn't happen. So fast forward now to the actual recording, I couldn't help but reflect on the fact that we kind of made it through and we're getting another opportunity to do it. So that was kind of one of the main things that was going through my mind. But you mentioned the audience, and it's really quite fascinating how much an audience does play in setting the atmosphere, in creating chemistry, and they were very vocal, and I could just hear them through our in-ears. So for me, that was one of the most memorable parts of it. We've been playing through previews, so we knew the show, we were ready to do it. So it was more of a case of thinking less about the music and what we had to do, and kind of just enjoying that present moment. And it was just really nice to have felt the energy of the audience, because I feel like it was a shared moment. Yeah, that's one of my memories on that night.
Yeah, for me, it was really exciting because I was added to the band when we reopened on Broadway. So originally there were only 4, and I was lucky enough to get invited to be the 5th member. So it was very exciting for many reasons, because first of all, it was my first time running the show on that day.
Talk about pressure.
Yeah, so that was a lot of fun. Everything went great, and also because I'm from Mexico City, so my dad was visiting here for opening night, and I had some of my family from Mexico, so that was very special for me, because my dad doesn't really know a lot of shows on Broadway because he doesn't live here. So just to be like one of the few Mexicans on Broadway and like on opening night, having my dad there and like all that, talking about the audience, that was like a very, very special show for me because it was like a dream came true for me that night to be like in a chair on Broadway coming from Mexico City since I was like 22 years old and then here. So yeah, it was a very, very special night and very grateful.
Man, how do you keep the emotions in check? Because I feel like I'd be like bawling.
I was bawling. I was like at the last, one of the last songs on 6. You guys know the lyrics that is about community and about everyone being unique and like everyone being able to make a difference. When I was listening to those lyrics in that night, I just started like crying really bad. And I was like, oh my God, what's happening? Like, why am I crying? And it's like, it was just magical.
Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah, what I remember the most about opening night was, well, first I was like, please, Kimmy, just don't cry. Don't let that curtain come up and then just be like sobbing. So I got a lot of my crying out pre-show because we had waited so long for this opening and then finally we got it. Finally, like it was surreal. It was truly overwhelming. I thought nothing about the music that night. So I really, as much as I can often get in my head about, oh, they're recording, not an opening night, I didn't think about it at all. The audience was off the charts. Probably the only challenge was there was times where I couldn't hear what I was playing because the audience was just like, and I'm like, well, I know this. I would look at my fingers and I'm like, I think I'm on the right spot, you know? But the energy was everything. Everything.
Yeah, opening night, okay, so the first time we listened to our cast album, it was the 6 of us. We were at Sam Polly's apartment and we were in our like pajamas and we listened to it all together for the first time. And then as soon as you hear that boom, that rumble at the beginning, and then Adriana goes, divorced. And then I go beheaded. For some reason that opening night, because the energy was so high and the audience was just, you couldn't hear anything. I was screaming. So now it's forever immortalized that I'm going, but I wouldn't have it any other way because I listened to that album and I know exactly what everybody was feeling on our opening night and leading up to it. I can remember every breath and why we take every breath, and I can feel everybody's emotion and what they were feeling right before that measure and like why she would do that lick or why we would do this and the looks we would give one another. I can hear it and I can feel it and I can relive all of those moments that we share on stage within those lyrics. And Our Ladies in Waiting just smashed the hell out of our recording. And so it brings so much pride when I talk about the album and just reliving that night because we had all worked so hard to get there and now we have it forever.
That's so good. So good. I'm curious about whether you guys are asked to do anything differently that you wouldn't normally do during your typical show where it's not a live recording happening.
For us, because it was recorded live, we actually did have to come back later on, I think a couple months after opening night, just to tighten up some of the cues for some of the songs. There were a few moments where cutoffs weren't as clear, so we would go back in. We all went back on stage, still live, but just to like do a little like cleanup cues of ending notes. So things like that. So we weren't in a studio where we like couldn't see one another. We saw each other and we fed off of one another, and I think that's what you feel and that's what you see. Not see, what? That's what you feel and hear within the album. And I think that was what was different, because it's super real in the moment. We were asked to just have fun, really, is what the direction was. I remember our creative team just being like, this is your show, so do it. And we did.
Yeah, you guys did and you killed it. Being in such an uncontrolled space to an extent, because of course you don't know how the audience is gonna respond to what you're doing. Of course the hopes is always that they'll be excited about it and will be really just giving you the energy. But does that add, and I feel like that adds to the richness, right, of the soundtrack. But did that add a little bit of pressure for you guys? Did that add to the stress for you guys, not knowing how the audience would respond and knowing that this was being recorded live?
I think for myself, there's always an added pressure when you know something's being captured and it's going to be listened back to. So yeah, that's an added pressure, but I think just learning over time that you just do the best you can do in the moment and you move on. If you didn't quite get it at that point, you can't sit there because you still got the rest of the show to do. So yes, there's an added pressure, but I think with everything, it felt more celebratory, and I think that kind of overruled any other feeling for that night specifically.
Yeah. I think about it like a extreme sport because it's like so exciting, but there's some pressure, and you just like jumping from the bungee. You just gotta do it and jump and like hope for that the rope doesn't break. But yeah, it's just so exciting to like record it live, and I think the recording comes out being very, very unique. Rather than being in a studio where you can like fix every single little thing. So here is like the excitement of the people, our excitement to be together and all that. So I think that makes it so unique.
So the song Ex-Wives just sets things off. I feel like it sets the tone for the show and the energy. How do you ensure that you're kicking things off super high energy, bringing the like magic from the start to the finish, but especially with the track Ex-Wives?
For the onstage queens, it's more about honoring where we are on that day, and I think some days we're really tired, and then the first thing we have to do is ex-wives. And so I think it's honoring how we feel that day. I can go into work and be like, I'm really tired. I don't really know if I want to be here. And I will be standing with my girls before the curtain opens, and we'll say hi to our band. And automatically, because I've honored how I felt, the women behind me don't even have to say it, but I already know I'm held. So in knowing that I am held in my workplace and feel safe, I can do my job, because no one is judging me for being exactly who I am, when I am, where I am. So when we do ex-wives, it's the acknowledgement of, yeah, you are here and we're gonna do this thing. And it's not about checking anything at the door and then being this queen. Although, when you put the costumes on, when you put your stuff on, like, there's a little bit of that comes in and you're like, whew, I'm a badass, let's go. But it's truly just honoring where we are, and some days we're really tired, and some days we're really chaotic back there and screaming. And then we do ex-wives, and it's almost just like a grounding. As like high energy as it is, ex-wives really just grounds us and really sets the tone. So if the audience is like, as soon as that curtain opens, then we're like, okay, this is gonna be a ride, guys, let's go. Or if the audience isn't like that and it's a little more on the like, okay, what is this about? Then we're like, okay, now you're gonna see what we have to offer. So that's what it is for me.
Yeah, I love that acknowledgement of the fact that like you're human, because I think sometimes we kind of forget, like if we're being honest, it's like these women are on stage killing it and they make it look effortless, and so you forget that like truly there are things that are going on in the background too. So I love that you also mentioned that. Speaking of ex-wives, of course you guys start out singing together, but then you guys kind of break out into your own like solo parts. You're able to show off your vocal chops. You're able to show off that character's personality. What does practice look like for just that song and then the others? And also just like ensuring that you're keeping the storyline alive too, while kind of injecting your own personality into the role.
I think for me, it also ties in back into honoring yourself on that day. And sometimes my Boleyn, when she's introducing herself in Ex-Wives, she's a little more spicy than other days. Other days she's like chill girl Boleyn, like I'm Boleyn. And other days she's like, I'm that Boleyn. Like, so it just depends on how I feel, I guess, on that day. And I think that's how I honor her and telling her story in her introduction. I'm not, I try to be as authentic to myself, and if I'm doing that, then I do her justice, because I'm not trying to be anyone. I'm not apologizing for being anything else but me, and I think that is her anthem, is to be sorry, not sorry.
So of course there's a lot of learning that happens if you really listen, and really I feel like you guys do a great job in general bringing those stories alive of those women. Was there anything about their stories that surprised you when you were doing whatever research you had to do prior to being a part of the show?
Definitely. I didn't realize how much I didn't know about everything they went through. It was quite traumatic at times. They carried so much. And you know, it just kind of makes you think about life today. And when you're learning their stories, and it happened so long ago, and then we see what life's like today, and it's like, okay, you know, women have really been, you know, fighting the fight and for some time now, and so we've just got to kind of continue that work in our own lives and in our own everyday situations. But yeah, I just was really surprised about their stories and everything they went through, and how they fought as much as they could through that. So yeah, big learning curve for myself.
Yeah, same. I knew very little about. I knew a bit about the Anne Boleyn and Jane Seymour. That was it. I was not a history buff, so I didn't know. So first time that I got to hear the lyrics and hear the music, I was like, this show is killer. This is great. It speaks to now, and the whole spin on it, I think, is brilliant. I think the writers are brilliant and wonderful humans. And then the queens just bring it to life. It was fun because the first time we learned it as a band, for me, I learned it back in Chicago, and so we had the British recording at first. So when I first met the American queens, I was like, how are they going to do it? What are they going to do to it? And it's been great to watch them develop their characters. It's been really cool and really individual, and your vibe, all the queens' vibes, it drives the show every night. Like that sets the tone. Ex-Wives sets the tone. Sometimes it's super energetic right up, like, whoa, we're going. Like they're like boom, and then other times it's more chill at the first song. So it's been a wonderful experience all the way around. And I do think the American take is different and really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of the lyrics shed light on the problems of the day at that time, but if you look at it, a lot of those issues are things that we're still facing today. I mean, as you listen to the lyrics of several of the tracks, and watch the show, you hear about women being objectified. You hear about women not being respected in the same way that men are. And a lot of those things are things we still face today. What kind of conversations do you guys hope come up around this after people see the show, listen to the soundtrack?
I think my hope for the conversations that come after you listen to the album or you come see the show is that they're conversations of empowerment and they're conversations of unity. I think as women we are sometimes pressured into handling everything on our own and going about this world with tough skin and like, this happened to me, but here I am, and I need to be strong. I need to be these things, and there's power in vulnerability and in speaking your truth. And I think there's the message of believing women, believing in women, because this show is exactly that, and it's about taking your power and saying F you to whoever doesn't believe in you. So I think those are the conversations that I wish people leave with and talk about, is to empower one another, and that there is strength in numbers, in unity, and that you can do it despite what you go through. You can do it. That's it.
I totally agree, and I think for me this show is also about compassion, because we all go through a lot of different things, but at the end we go through a lot of things, and especially nowadays, like with everything's happening in the world and in this country, for women especially. So I think if we have compassion for one another, regardless if we're men or women, and that makes us help each other, and like if you have compassion, I can help you, or at least my decisions, I know that my decisions are gonna affect you, and your decisions are gonna affect me, and if we have more compassion for each other, I think it will be a nicer place to be. I mean, it's already nice. So this show is like a reminder for me to like remember that compassion and resilience and unity are very important, and sometimes we forget about that. And it's really cool to be in this show because I think we are in a sisterhood. Like every time, like sometimes, you know, things happen in my life or everyone's life or something, or the subway is delayed or whatever. Like it could be a small thing or a big thing, but once I'm in the theater with my friends and colleagues and the queens and everyone with their talent and respect, it's just really, it motivates me a lot to like keep going, keep trying, and just be grateful that this show exists, and remember that the values are still around us, like compassion, resilience, and unity.
For the ladies in waiting, you guys have such a strong presence in this show and really make it come together, really make it come to life. Where you're physically located might be a little bit in the background, but I mean, like I said, we feel your presence. Is there anything that we don't know as far as preparation for the show goes that you can kind of share with us? Some tidbits. How do you prepare for the show?
We launch.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that, you know, there's just moments before the show, especially that half an hour leading up to stage time, where we have to like put on our costumes, and you know, we're doing a little bit of makeup and kind of preparing ourselves to play. And I think that half an hour is really quite important, especially putting the costumes on. I don't know if anyone's seen, but the ladies in waiting, we wear like this leather pantsuit and
Hot leather pants.
Yeah. Sometimes we can get into it okay, and other times it's a little difficult. But yeah, and just being able to wear that costume or uniform, it kind of really is symbolic because we all wear the same uniform, and it kind of helps get you in the mood because now you're wearing these clothes that you probably wouldn't wear on a day-to-day basis. Oh, you do?
Kimmy does.
Yeah, and I think just being able to have that opportunity to be on stage, it really makes you feel like included. And a lot of the time, there's a little bit of interaction between ourselves and the queens, and it really does kind of catapult you into that, that mood and into that kind of mindset. But yeah, I think just, we have our rituals that we do to prepare for the show, and it's definitely kind of like a thing that we enjoy doing.
For those of you who don't know, we call them the ladies in waiting because in history, the names of our ladies in waiting, like Maggie, Joan, Bessie, were actually all the ladies in waiting for the actual queens. So Maggie was actually Anne Boleyn's lady in waiting when she was queen. But I also want to add that these women, every time we have like a rehearsal and now we get to rehearse with our cast album, and I remember hearing Six, just the instrumental for Six, and just all the little things that you guys do in that song. It's excellent work, and they had to learn the show. They have to memorize the show. So if you're a lady in waiting in Six the Musical, you don't have a score in front of you, where the other musicals do have the scores in front of them because they're hidden, right? They're somewhere else, not on stage. And because they are just as important as we are, they're here and present and acting with us, whole mind. They have moments, and it's so fun to be on stage with you. And I know we don't get to do that so much, but it's truly incredible to listen to their work. There was a moment, sorry, can I talk about this?
Yeah.
There was a moment where we were in rehearsal and we were in tech, and Toby and Lucy got all the queens to come out and sit in the audience. It was such an epic moment. It's a core memory for me. I remember we got to hear Ex-Wives as an instrumental. We got to sit in the audience, maybe not sit, I was standing. I was standing in the aisle, and I felt the rumble of that beginning song, and then the curtain dropped, and the ladies were playing, and I was just sobbing. Because it was so epic, and we don't get to hear what you hear out of the audience because our in-ears, they're protected for a reason, so we don't get the full experience. So we got to listen to what you would listen to in the audience, and I remember sobbing, crying, because it was so cool and I had no idea what I was doing there. Anyway.
So the cast recording is such a great way for fans to listen back to a show that they love, and also maybe catch some of the things that they didn't catch the first time after watching it. Is there anything sonically or lyrically that takes a few listens to kind of catch?
I'm always just discovering new things in the show. and I don't know how I miss it. Probably because I'm concentrating on what I'm playing. But even since we've opened until now, there's parts where the penny just drops, and I'm like, oh. And I realize that sometimes I'm actually watching the queens as they play, because I'm now like, okay, I know the show well enough. I know when I need to kind of watch the monitor for my cues, and I'm finding myself just kind of engaging with the queens. I'm like, oh, I didn't know they did that. Like, it is legitimate. It took me a few months before I realized, one of the queens slips off and slips back on with the costume back on, and I'm like, when did that happen? So, I can only imagine if you're listening to it back that you're getting, little snippets of gems that happen too. So yeah, I think that happens quite a lot.
I think the first time that I heard the cast album, it just sounded so much more massive than how it sounds in my little ears. It's just like boom,
So big.
huge, and then the group vocals blew me away, because I have the vocals fairly low in my mix. I have a click track. Is like this is me, this is my show. And so to have that removed and be able to just hear those vocals was like, whoa. But picking up new little things, I hear little things every show, live, not the cast album, but live, I am dying because you guys say so many funny half off mic things, like they're funny all the time. And that just never gets old. Lately, we've been wearing masks, the band. And while I don't like wearing the mask, one great thing about it is I am laughing. I am laughing. I say things nobody knows it's coming from me. You guys are funny. So that just always keeps it fresh. Yeah.
In terms of lyrics, though, I think it also just depends on the day and how spicy we all feel. But things like too many years lost in history, or too many years lost in his story. Moments like that within the cast album, and then when you watch the show and you're kind of like, oh my god, yes, what? Let's do that again. Or moments like you have to run back Britney's like operatic moment and get down because no one expects that. And just, I think the lyrics are just full of gems. And I can't even imagine watching it like once and then trying to absorb everything and then being like, what? I remember listening to No Way and having to listen to No Way a few times because quoting Leviticus on my line, I was like, what? A, super sicky, and B, now what is she talking about? And now she's talking about all this stuff that Henry said to her. Oh my gosh, and now it's like in this like cool sicky way that Adriana sings it. Yes, let me run that back so I can now absorb it and memorize it and say it back again. But there are so many little trinkets in the lyrics that are just genius. Toby and Lucy are out of this world. They're magicians.
I feel like that was very much my experience too. Like I had to listen to it several times.
Right.
Yeah. You guys get your questions ready because after this one, you guys will have the floor. But lastly, I just want to kind of talk about evolution and interpretation because I imagine it changes over time, and oftentimes it's a welcome change in live theater. How would you say the way in which you guys perform the songs has evolved from the very first night you guys did it to today?
I think at least for my book, because my book is very different. I'm the only musician that is actually in the pit, so I don't wear a costume or anything, which I really like. It's nice. And
Well, when you do get to play Maria on the drums,
yeah. Sometimes I do. Yeah, that's fun too. Today, after this. Yeah. But anyway, in the book that I do, I think the creative team had a very specific idea for the show. And that, it doesn't limit it, but it makes me be able to be accurate every single show and have it as close as possible, like they thought about it. So in my book, it's just being like perfect every night. So their books are a little different, but at least I just try to be as close as possible to what they had on mine.
Yeah, I agree. I think the orchestrations have been written specifically, so we can't, I guess, as musicians, deviate from that too much. I think if anything has developed or changed, it may be like the feel of it and how settled you feel. And Dre mentioned that when, you know, on any given day, the queens may come out and execute something more spicy or more relaxed, and we definitely pick up on that. Like, and I really feel that that really we kind of lock into where they are and try and match them, because they have so much energy and they have to do this so many times a week. And I think it's like I really admire, you know, like the work ethic and the talent that is put into it. So I think when I am playing my book, I'm definitely trying to match that energy. And so yeah, I think the energy may shift, but what we're playing is pretty consistent.
I think for on-stage queens, me specifically, she grows as I grow, and my bullet now is not bullet 2019, and because I'm not Andrea from 2019, and the more life that I go through, the more life bullet goes through, and I think it's a beautiful thing because that's how we keep her alive, and that's how we keep ourselves alive, and in appreciating the ever-evolving humanness. And yeah, that's what I have to say about that.
All right, so we'll take it to the audience and see what they have to ask you guys. You can come up to the mic and ask your question.
For this cast recording, there were so many years and so many other productions since the studio album. So I'm curious, when were you told that this was actually going to happen? Since, you know, all the fans were waiting for the full score to be recorded.
I think we were told during previews when we were that we were gonna have a cast album, and that we were gonna have a live cast album, and it would be recorded on opening night. We were gonna have an opening night cast album. Toby and Lucy wanted it to have that Beyonce homecoming Coachella vibe. That was what it was inspired by. So that's what we did. We found out, a few weeks before opening that was gonna happen for us.
The second opening or the first opening?
The second.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Oh my gosh, look at your costume. This is Elena's student.
For real?
Yes.
I was like wondering, I'm interested in being in the ladies in waiting when I'm older. How do you think it's like being women on Broadway that play instruments? Because like every Broadway show I've been to, it's always male people playing instruments.
I'm gonna cry. I mean, I'm also a drummer percussionist like Elena. Elena is not here, but for us as percussionist drummers, it's been like a couple years to get here, because even like 2 years ago, there was not so many openings for women. But now, thankfully, there's a lot of more openings. So we're just like trying to help each other. Like if someone gets a show, like a girl, we bring more friends and more girls to sub, and we just try to make a community. Like we already are a community of musicians, female musicians, that we're helping each other, and that's becoming really, really strong in Broadway, thankfully. And so I think it's really cool, and we have a good future coming up.
such a profound show with so many amazing lyrics and moments. What are your favorite moments either to be in or to watch in the show? Like, if there's a moment that really sticks out to you, that,
Oh man. Right now, I am really living up watching Joy Woods sing I Don't Need Your Love. She came into our cast in March when Anna Uzele left to go be a big superstar. And Joy came, and to watch her just grow into herself in that role, I feel so proud of her, and listening to her journey every day and sharing a dressing room with her, getting to be like just besties with her. I've been really just in awe of what she's done with Catherine Parr and how she's done it for herself within these last few months. So right now, my jam is I Don't Need Your Love. I love listening to her breathe through that intro. I love like having all of us be with her in that intro, because some days it's slower and some days it's on tempo and some days it's different every time, and it just depends on how she's feeling that day, and we are all here, ladies in waiting, on stage queens, to breathe it all in with her. So that's mine.
thank you, and thank you for coming in on 8 Show Week.
You guys are rock stars, all you guys. We love you. So my question is, do the politics of the day affect your performance? Like a few weeks ago when Roe v. Wade was overturned, did you guys come out raging? Or you guys put that aside? Or
I think on that day we had a really, really, really strong performance. I was walking down Fifth Ave with Brittany, and a woman had stopped us. And she said, with all the shit that's going on today, thank you for allowing us to take our power back. And that we kind of sat there, and not sat there, oh my God, sidewalk. We stood there, and we kind of both looked at each other. We were like, yeah, this is what this is for. This gives us, we have a space, and we have a safe space to be everything that we need to be, whether that's pissed, like sad, mad, frustrated. We have a way to put all of that energy and put it out and make something good for other people. So on those days, on those really hard days where life is truly, truly against us, oh my God, we hold each other tighter and we come out even stronger.
nice. Thank you. The next question is my little girl. She's a theater major one day. She's okay.
Hi. My question is, this is a pretty basic question, but how does it feel to be on Broadway? Like, to look at that big audience that's like clapping for you?
How does it feel? It's a dream come true. Like, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's definitely inspirational. Can't believe we made it there. Yeah, it feels great. It feels great. Really appreciative.
And I also think that we have a very strong responsibility right now, like Andrea was saying, that this show is very, very important. Like, it's always been important, but right now it's more important. And we need to stay together and support each other.
It feels mind-blowing, and I have immense gratitude every show.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello,
gorgeous.
Yeah, sorry, funny girl shirt. So one thing I love about not just the Broadway, but also all the other casts, all the other queens, I love the diversity in that cast. Not only you have different queens, different races and creeds, but also body shapes and body sizes. Who still strives to be on Broadway. To see a plus-size queen in the UK tour is such a cool thing. What is something that you would love to see on the Broadway or even like the US tour that's unique to some of the other tours that you would like to see in New York?
Wow, the first thing that I want to see is a trans Kay Howard. Yeah, wow, that was the first thing that came to my mind. But I think yeah, more of it. Because why not? We have to live in possibility, and the only way to make that shit happen is to make it happen. And I think we're in a space where creatives and people who make cool shit happen can do those things. And I think we just have to remind ourselves that we are worthy of being seen and just to go for it.
Good morning. I was just wondering for the ladies in waiting, if musically, if you have a favorite song, a favorite moment that you enjoy playing, or for Andrea, you kind of addressed this a little bit already, but if you have a favorite song other than Don't Lose Your Head to perform.
It's not my favorite song. My favorite song to perform is No Way. I am dancing my butt off. And I feel like such a badass when I'm performing No Way. Don't Lose Your Head is obviously my song, and it's very fun. But my favorite is No Way, and my favorite is doing 6 at just the end. They're two of my favorite numbers.
Mine is mine is Mega 6 because my book is I'm kind of the DJ in the show. I mean, so I'm a percussionist, but like in the show I'm kind of a DJ. So like every time we play the song, I imagine myself in like a really big concert where you have the DJs and everyone is dancing.
You're at a festival.
Like yeah, on a festival. So it's like yes, like we're almost done and it's so good and it's like so that's my favorite one. It's like a party.
My favorite groove of the whole show is No Way, hands down. It's just I'm smiling ear to ear through that whole thing. My favorite moment is the remix of I Don't Need Your Love. That's it gives me chills nearly every night, and it's a blast to play, and it's like when everybody comes together, you know. So.
Actually, I think one of my favorites at the moment is actually Don't Lose Your Head. I think it's just such a cheeky and fun part of the show. And then we have that 32-bar outro at the end where we just go into rock mode.
Yeah.
My heart rate just goes up, and we have that blackout where I can catch my breath for a minute. Not that I need to talk or anything, but it's just like a really fun part. And then I think my favorite moment in the show is the key change in 6. Well, we started to coordinate this bounce thing that just kind of started happening, and the lighting changed, and you can really feel the uplift, and it is such a high moment that it just kind of gives us a little bit of hope, and yeah, that's my favorite part. Thank you.
I also black out in Don't Lose Your Head.
So, of course, I imagine that people in the audience want to know how they can keep up with you guys. Are you guys on social media, and do you want to share your handles in case they do?
Yes, my handle is andrea.cecile at Instagram. Oh my god, I'm just gonna go at hotmail.com. But that's my Instagram handle.
You can find me on Instagram as well, Mariana_drums.
I'm Kimmy Hayes 1, Kimmy Kimi.
And my Instagram handle is Michelle Marie Music.
You're looking for me, Charlie Cooper TV, but these are the stars. We are so excited you gave us your time this morning. So excited that you guys took some questions from the audience, and thank you so much. And thank you all so much. Thank you for joining us, and yeah, listen to the album. It's great.